Welcome back. Now, it's day 3 of the ANC's National Policy Conference in Johannesburg. Delegates are expected to finalise the proposals presented to commissions. Now, for more, let's cross to our reporter at Nasrec in Johannesburg, Samgele Maseko. Samgele, a very good morning to you.
Well, Lebu, indeed, delegates will be going back to plenary this morning, where the various chairpersons of the commissions and the scribers and the reports of these commissions will be reporting back to plenary for adoption or further clarity-seeking questions from delegates on some of the policy proposals coming from the various commissions that have sat here at the ANC's 6th Policy Conference. Those topical commissions, particularly economic transformation, international relations and cooperation, and also gender equality within the country. The most startling proposal coming from the African National Congress, due to the escalating numbers of gender-based violence within the country and rape of women from men, is seemingly getting severe attention from the African National Congress. When you decide to rape a woman and violate a woman, you will be chemically castrated in the proposals of the African National Congress. Maswele Ralibona, my colleague from research, and also Mtiane from research as well, focusing on economics, will further unpack some of the commissions and recommendations coming from the African National Congress. Maswele, I'm going to start with you. Chemical castration for those whom violate women sexually. Did we anticipate the ANC to propose such a drastic measure?
Thank you, Samgele. I think now I will not use the word that was used by Sam Kokeli during the briefing when he said the proposal is populist, but I think it's overreaching. In South Africa, we don't have prisons. We don't punish offenders. We rehabilitate them. We have what we call correctional facilities, and what they're doing now with this one, for me, they are just inviting lots and lots of noise. It will spark debate with civil society organizations, with human rights organizations. It will even go as far as the whole world. The UN will get involved, and anybody else who's interested in human rights, because this is not, this is, for me, this is constitutionally invalid, and I don't see how they will start with the process of amending the constitution to sneak this particular matter of chemical castrations into rape convictees.
But when you look at the escalating numbers of rape incidents within the country, particularly muted against women and young women in this country, and the elderly, when you go to some rural communities in Limpopo, in Mpumalanga, in KwaZulu-Natal, in Eastern Cape, you find young men raping elderly women within the communities. Should those rights of those people, is it not time perhaps that those rights be taken away from them from violating innocent women?
If the correctional, if the rehabilitation programs in our prisons are not working, then they must be reviewed. The country can come up with something new, but not this particular one. That's how I see it. Not this particular one, because, like I said, it's going to spark a lot of debate, and I don't see a point where this will be implemented in the constitutional democracy that we are in. We have people who committed heinous crimes during apartheid, the likes of Eugene de Kock and many others, who are now free, roaming the streets. We have Tutuko Shoba, who was sentenced to life in prison, imprisonment this week. But we know that after 20 years or 15 years or so, the guy will be out, and he will rehabilitate. We will be told that he's been rehabilitated and will be roaming the streets again. So this particular one, the castration of convictees of rape, the ANC managed from last night to attract attention to themselves by just coming up with this one.
Velimitiane, on the issues pertaining to the high numbers of violence we are seeing in the country, high levels of crime, and the impact it has on the economy of the country, before we get to the nitty-gritties of the Economic Transformation Subcommittee Commission, the impact of escalating numbers of crime, does it have the potential to throw away investors from the country?
Good morning to you, Samgele, and good morning to the viewers at home. My take on the proposal that was raised yesterday at the commissions is that perhaps while others may view it as radical, but it does indicate that we are facing a serious problem of gender-based violence, in particular sexual assault to women and children. And I think then it brings us to a point where we need to discuss if current measures that are in place are effective and if they do serve as a deterrent so that the would-be perpetrators do not commit such crimes. In an economic point of view, yes, it does bring an impact. For instance, women will not be free to do economic activities that would put them in isolated areas or that would require them to perhaps travel at night because of the rampant cases of rape. It's as though there is no fear at all to sexually assault, and there is nothing that the perpetrators they fear in terms of the law. So whether this would work or not, we would leave it to the relevant bodies to discuss it, but a better solution than the current one must be found. Perhaps a middle line will be found, and economically, indeed, it does affect women, and it's really not good at the moment.
Veli, there were proposals in the leaked ANC Economic Transformation Committee documents. One, there was a proposal for the Central Energy Fund to go and buy this Sapref oil refinery within the coastline of Durban, which is owned by Total and Engen. There was also a proposal on the just transition from coal to renewable energies, independent power producers. When you look at the ANC's proposals in the Economic Transformation Subcommittee, the expansion of the mandate of the Reserve Bank, nationalization of land expropriation without compensation, are these realistic proposals?
Well, one of the things that we should look into when a policy is proposed, it does not have to be just a policy proposal by itself. It has to be accompanied by policy implementation processes. So what I found out with most of the economic policies is that they are proposed in a vacuum. There is no proper implementation plan of those policies. A good example would be the expropriation of land without compensation, whereby you know that in the legislature, the parliament, they need about 2/3 majority. And at the time when the ANC adopted it in 2017 and in previous conferences, they did not consider their numbers in parliament, and they did not lobby enough to get the 2/3 majority. So it becomes a pipe dream to propose a policy when you know that there is a framework within which that policy must be implemented. Secondly, if we look into the issue of the just transition, I do not think that the delegates perceive the need of cutting down on the carbon emissions, and there is more fascination about preservation of fossil fuels in terms of coal because of the contracts and tenders that some they do have there. But on the other side, the green revolutionaries, they want everything that has to do with coal to be immediately eradicated, and there needs to find a balance. That balance is critical so that while we transition, but we transition justly and we transition in an inclusive manner, we transition considering the provinces whose economies rely on coal.
Gentlemen, we will definitely pick up this debate as the day goes on because there are many issues to touch on. There is the proposal from ETC to tax the wealthy, the rich. 80% of the South African economy is in the hands of a tiny minority, 10%, largely of one particular color. And 80% of the population, largely Indian, African, and colored, find themselves languishing in poverty. So the ANC is proposing tax the rich to fund the poor in order to eradicate the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment. One wonders if those who own those winevelds in Stellenbosch, who wine and dine in Sandton, stay in posh suburbs of Cape Town, of Durban, of Johannesburg, will be willing to let their hard worth of pennies to fund the poor, to eradicate those triple challenges as we pay our bills.